Okay. Good evening, everybody. Mrs. Ernst is not here tonight. She's absent, so you have me. So I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting. Recognition was done prior to the executive session, along with roll call. So before we get to approval of the agenda, under number 5, we have a few change, or actually one change here, regarding Item 14, under the Business Administrator and Board Secretary report. I need a motion to table the report of the Secretary and Business Administrator under item 14.
Motion.
Motion,
D14, correct?
Yes, D14. So motion was Kim, who second?
Christie.
Chrissy? Okay, any discussion?
All right, so
Okay,
we're
roll
gonna
call.
we'll do a roll call vote on that, and then we can go back to the pledge. Mr. Marqueta.
Yes.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Kubricki.
Yes.
Ms. Palladino.
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel.
Yes.
Mrs. Papalakua.
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh.
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? I wrote this on a piece of paper. Okay, motion carries.
Okay. Under item 5, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda as presented this evening.
So made.
Second?
Second, with that item table, right?
Yes,
As
with item
modified.
D14
Yeah, as
table
modified.
removed. So it was Betty Ann motioned and Kim carried.
Thank you.
Item number 6, approval of the minutes.
Item
6A.
number 5, we didn't approve yet.
We just approved
We just
item
approved 5.
5.
We just approved taking item 14 out,
Yes,
but we didn't approve the agenda.
I just did number
otherwise.
5 now, approval of the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kim motioned, Karen second.
right, and we didn't vote on that yet and discuss it. So I have a discussion.
Okay. All in favor?
I have a discussion point, Madam President.
All in favor of item 5, approval of the agenda? So
With the voice vote.
Is vote? Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Discussion?
Opposed, you didn't give me a chance to suggest what was wrong with the agenda.
I didn't think it was, I'm going to stop here. Okay? I didn't think it was necessary on approval of the agenda to go through.
For discussion?
I don't believe, I mean, we already said what we're taking off of it, so I don't believe you need to say,
We moved the tabling of the settlement
Yes.
before we approved the agenda intentionally so that.
Okay, I'll bring it up in board form then.
All right. Under item number 6, approval of the minutes. Under 6A, item 1, regular session, June 19th. I need a motion
So made.
and a second. Second. Second from Christie. All in favor?
Are we going to discuss on that also? Or are we not having discussion tonight on things?
Any discussion?
Yes. The approval of the minutes, the open session minutes also contains the executive session minutes on it, which is unusual because they're always separated. But that being the case, the executive session minutes, which are on the open session, are inadequate and do not follow state law. As I look at the executive session minutes, there is nothing, no discussion of what transpired during those discussions. We had 2 executive sessions. Again, you can go on there and click and look. Executive session 2, executive session 1 says motion to go into executive session, but it doesn't detail anything that was discussed in executive session. Past policy, if you look at executive session, what is required by law, for instance, in our May 15th meeting, it said Board discussion ensued regarding granting suspension of policy to allow Mrs. Bakalua to participate via phone, as she was delayed by traffic. The board agreed to this. Personnel in closed session. The board discussed the high school principal position. The superintendent explained the details of the job, explaining and reviewed the applicant. She provided explanation, holiday observance, personnel. So under each article discussed in personnel session, the executive minutes contained a general statement of
Sir,
what.
that's the minutes,
Pardon?
for the minutes?
Yes, I mean, executive session minutes must by law contain a description of what transpired, not in detail, but certainly in general, of what areas were brought up and what was discussed. Our minutes as they occur, the open session minutes also have the closed session minutes, which is highly unusual, and have a discussion of nothing.
This is for last month's regular session.
Regular
minutes.
session,
Right.
June 19th.
But the open session, we click on the open session minutes, regular meetings, they have under it, number 4, executive session, and number 5, executive session number 2.
But we're not approving the executive session, they're not done yet, they're gonna be approved at the August meeting.
Yes.
This is
This is
just
just
part of
the
the
regular.
overview, we're not
Last month's
approving
regular.
executive minutes, we're just approving the general minutes. If you go to the
General.
original, our agenda for tonight, it says regular session
Session.
June 19th. So we're not approving the executive, so next month in August, you'll see June 19th executive session minutes. We don't have those done yet because Mr. Brown had to leave, if you remember. And he and I have to get together to go over the executive minutes.
Okay, so items 4 and 5 then are on the open session for the purpose of,
It's just a generic overview, like you said, they're gonna be, as you're expecting when we do the executive minutes.
okay, so
That'll
we
be
will have the
separate.
executive.
Yes,
minutes
next month.
And it'll be separate,
It'll be
under
separate.
executive.
All right,
And it'll
thank you.
have the date
You're
and
welcome.
the exhibit number. So we'll probably, I would assume, we'll have 4 exhibits under executive next
Yes.
month.
Okay.
We had 3 executives, right?
Okay, so this is for regular only on the 24th, okay?
So voice vote?
All right, yes. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, third one.
did you get the first and seconded?
Yes.
Okay.
McVeigh seconded, Palladino, or excuse me, McVeigh motioned, Palladino
Okay.
seconded.
Good. Now, roll call.
Mr. Barquetto,
Abstain.
Mr. Williams,
Regular session? Yes.
Regular session, June 19th.
Yes.
Mr. Kubricki,
Yes.
Ms. Palladino,
Yes.
Ms. Hannandel.
Yes.
Mrs. Bakalakua,
I need to abstain, I was not in attendance.
Mrs. McVeigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
Yes.
And Mrs. Ernst is notified absent. Motion carried.
All right. Under item 7, report of the superintendent. A, superintendent's update. Dr.
Thank
Foley?
you. Can you take one, please, and pass it down? So the first thing I have on my list is a review of our goals that we established during our retreat. Once again, thank you for your participation with that night. We got a lot accomplished. And I did send this out to you via email for you to review and give any comments or questions. I think it was pretty comprehensive. I didn't hear much. I'm just going to talk about the district goals right now. And later on, Mrs. Chambers is going to be discussing the board goals. So you have your packet in front of you. And a quick review, the district goals that we established, and these will be formally approved in our August meeting, are 2 district goals. One has to do with the social and emotional well-being of students, and the second one is in line with math. And then if you keep turning, you can see the action plan that was created for those specific goals. The action plan dealing with the social and emotional learning is goal number 1, and you can see some of the activities that we're doing. One being the part-time mental health specialist that you are approving tonight. And if you continue, action plan goal number 2, it deals with our math goal and some of the things that we're going to do for that. It even gets more comprehensive and shows how we're going to be measuring SGOs. And then it gives a sample of what one of those may look like for a teacher in terms of what they give their benchmark assessment, where their starting point is, and the growth that we're hoping that they're going to make. Now, aside from this overview, we are going to be doing a lot of things as a district. One of the things I wanted to bring up to the board in this forum in front of the public was the possibility of bringing in some more assistance in terms of math. Now, we know that as administrators, we're going to provide professional development. We're going to be working with those teachers and looking at data. And in Little Egg particularly, we did turn one of our teaching positions into a teaching coach. So she's just hired now to do math coaching for our teachers K to 6. And we do have a director in that district that has a strong math background and has been doing some different things with math and science. So just putting it out there to the board, your thoughts on this. If we were, as we're sharing so many other services, to share some services with perhaps the director and the math coach, just periodically to come and give some feedback, do some observations just with the math department. So before I even pursued that more, it's something that we talked about administratively. I just wanted to see your feedback on that. And if not, we can do more things just in-house.
So I was wondering about this anyway, actually I meant to ask you. So because high school can go from 0 to trigonometry and
Yes.
beyond, so are they gonna try to do all of that?
So in math, yes, we're definitely, and I'm gonna present all this data to the board probably in September to show you what the benchmarks look like. So we're gonna look at the deficiencies first. So where are big gaps? Typically your kids in Trig and Calc are good math kids.
Yeah.
We're not really concerned with them. It's
So it is
more
basic skills.
that, not even basic skills, because we've seen from the data that the students that take algebra in middle school typically do well because they're good math students. But how are we helping those kids in high school that are now taking algebra for the first time that may have not been good algebra or math students? So we're going to look at the data and see where are our gaps and where do we need to fill in. And we're going to be doing all of our benchmark assessments now in OnCourse, which is an online platform. So I have readily access to that. Gina will, and we can all be on the same page and on the same team with that.
And special ed too.
Special ed too, everyone involved.
So I'll just say I like the idea of a math coach. I'm kind of a math geek myself. So I would like to hear more as you formulate your plan. To me, it's very different being a math coach for a 3rd and 4th grader than maybe a math coach of what they're doing at the 9th and 10th grade level. So I'd like to, as you develop this
Sure.
a little bit further, hear more about how that individual and how you would
Okay.
they would
So,
bridge that gap.
As I start meeting with the administrative team and putting some ideas together, I'll create a drive that we can share ideas with. You can ask questions just like we do in the Q&A, but we can't give our opinions because it's a public document.
Yeah.
But we can, definitely share some of those thoughts and move forward with this. Regardless, these are our goals. And then, as I said, Mrs. Chambers is going to talk a little bit more about the board goals when we get down to a board forum and how that the board can support us as a district to make sure that we accomplish these goals. So as long as there's no objection to the 2 district goals, I'm going to put these on the agenda for next month for formal approval. Okie dokie? All right. The next thing I have is a homebound update. And I know I've talked about this, but I wanted to give you something tangible and black and white that you can keep to reiterate what the plan is moving forward. So there's no surprise or discussion. So we had talked about, and we put it as part of our board goal last year actually, that homebound instruction has been a very large cost to the district. In 2017-18, it was $160,000 plus. I'm not sure the exact figure of that. 2018-19, this past school year, it was $134,635.61 is what we spent on homebound instruction. And just reflecting on this as the superintendent and what's best for our students, I'm not certain that having our teaching staff who have worked a long day, some of them are coaching many hours, and then they're trying to fit in homebound instruction. I'm not sure that's the best plan for our students that may be on homebound instruction that are perhaps struggling. So as we talked about prior, creating 2 part-time positions and a maximum of 30 hours a week for someone to just be hired to do homebound instruction. And now they can do it during the day. They can do it when it's more convenient for the student. They are also going to manage Edmendum, our online program, and run those reports. And you may be saying, well, what about in September when there's not many students on homebound? They're going to be setting up the program. They're going to be looking at data. We are definitely going to be keeping them busy. And if we have 2 part-time positions, the maximum we're going to spend on that is $60,000 instead of $134,000 when we have random, staff members doing it when it's convenient for their schedule. So I just put down some of the information on that, and I wanted to reiterate that the mental health expert that's on the approval for tonight is paid out of the Title I grant. Any overflow from that position, if any, could come out of the homebound cost that we're now avoiding. And that mental health person is going to be on staff, so we don't have to send students out to get an assessment, which we wait often months for, and pay a very significant amount of money. One of our providers last year, for example, we paid $16,000 to, and we wait months for those reports because they're very busy. Now we have someone on staff that could not only do the assessments, but can service our students and staff if need be. So I think that's going to be a great benefit, and it's aligned with our goal. Title IV. And then I just put some key points at the bottom. So I want you to keep this because I want you to know that this is part of our goal and that I've clearly articulated this and how we are saving money with this method.
Question?
Yes.
For the homebound instructor, based on our student population and our student numbers that traditionally, you know, they vary all the time, I know, but that are traditionally need these services, you're confident that with 2 staff members, can keep that under 30 hours per week?
Yes.
And I think we'll be given updates and data to answer that
Right.
question, because it was one of my questions that I had as well.
Yeah. Okay.
My only other question with that would be, so you are confident in the fact that we would not need to utilize any of our staff as we have in the past? Or do you think there could possibly be carryover where sometimes that would have to occur also?
I'm not anticipating needing any staff to do homebound instruction. I don't want to never say never because a unique situation can come up with a special ed student that has very severe services and might need, and for example, you'll see Jen Soralik Quintez on the agenda for tonight. That was for a summer student that had graduation concerns, and she did some hours with that student over the summer.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay.
All right.
The last thing I have for my update is summer heat. I want to remind the board you're welcome to attend the workshops as well. It's on the Little Egg website. I have a brochure here you're welcome to keep. Next week, running from Monday through Thursday, we have our annual summer heat in which our administrative team, our teachers, and some other professionals teach workshops for free. They are 2.5 hours, and anyone's welcome to attend. And it ranges from Google surveys, Google Classroom, to how to manage LBGT in a high school. So there's a variety of things on the schedule for many people to attend, and once again, they're free. So spread the word. It's on the Little Egg website, and if you'd like the brochure that I have, you're welcome to take it.
And that's open to our all sending
It's
districts as
actually,
well?
we've had people last year come from Ocean City, Tom's River. It's open to anyone.
Oh, great.
That's great.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Dr. McCoy. Under item 7B, facilities update, Mr. Balone and Mr. Moore. And Mr. Stranahan, and Mr. Stranahan is here.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. The first project that we had going on for the year was the masonry restoration, window and door repair. Pleased to say we're done. We're down to work list, we're down to cleanup, we're up to demobilization. If you look at the front of the building, in front of the A-wing, the masonry plant is gone, and we're putting topsoil down and cleaning up. So right now, we're in a positive thing with that. Interior renovation, majority of the project work is done. We are doing work lists. The canopy is being finished. Steel-wise, concrete's gonna be going down, the roofing will be going in, and such. That's probably the one noticeable item that you see in front. We are in a process of working through the wing sections of blocks for cleaning and turning over to the district to do the fine tweaking and such. So that's where we stand on that. The junior high is the one aggressive schedule one that basically we have 2 projects going at the same time right after school ended. The first one was interior renovation. Last month we just started demolition of selected demolition. Now we are into restoration and completion of the interiors. We're working on bathrooms, working on HVAC, working on locker rooms, and miscellaneous through the entire project. We are on the point of now putting some ceilings back together again and turning rooms over to the school district to start cleaning up. The other one, which is the aggressive one, is the exterior project that we have going on. The first one over the high school is the path, which finished already from the athletic field to the school. New lighting has been put up. We have finished the underground storm sewage for that, and they're in the process of doing the pavement going around the back of the building and the parking lot. The last one for what's happening is the junior high with the bus lane. We are in the process of almost finishing all the excavation for the 3-lane bus lane in the back, putting storm lines in, and grooming that out. So it's a very aggressive month that we have in forward, and pretty much it's the same thing we had when we started the project. The site work was going to be a very aggressive, tight finish.
The third floor in the high school is gonna be, given to us on Monday, so we'll be able to start cleaning third floor of the high school. We finished about 70% of the classrooms that we were given in the junior high. We're working right now with Little Egg, so, we don't see no problem, we should be good to go, so.
It's great.
So good to go inside the building
Yeah.
as well as good to go
Yes.
outside the building?
Yep.
Right, I heard aggressive
Ag-
about
aggra-
6 times
It
on the
is,
pavement.
it is aggressive finishing schedule.
But
that-
expectation is that we will meet it at this.
We will meet it if someone could hold nightly rains back.
Yeah.
So right now, we were able to get certain soils stabilized. We're working in the back, and they're pushing to get base pavement down and such. We already have some curbing going in, sidewalks going in the back. So it's very aggressive, like I said, in the back, but that's how the schedule was.
Thank you.
It's great.
And a lot of the areas are being turned over already for our own staff, so that's allowing them the time to stay ahead of
Good.
the curve on all this and getting classrooms back together, and those areas are being locked up,
Yes.
and they're moving to the next area.
And you said the third floor is being turned over next week?
Yes.
You guys? That's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Great.
The canopy out front, when do you expect that to be fully completed?
Which one? We have 2 canopies.
The one in high school?
The high school one, we have the concrete going in next week. And then what's left is touch-up painting, and we have the roof panels. It's a translucent roof panel. The junior high canopy, the foundations were put in last week. The steel is targeted to arrive next week, and then following with sidewalks and roofing.
That sounds real aggressive. And it sounds like the weather could be a real factor.
So right now, it's like I said, we got the foundations in, and we're pushing forward.
Right.
And all the panels for the one at the high school are on site. They're ready. They got some painting to do and then setting them, which they said is a couple of things. We have another meeting tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Question,
Oh,
one more question.
go ahead.
I know when we closed the high school, we changed the 3-year referendum plan. When is the completion of the total referendum plan expected? So, I mean, the whole referendum is done. I mean, when is that? I mean, the coming year, do we have a lot going on or nothing?
I'm only familiar with the 3 projects right now, what was on the referendum. I know, I guess, either John Yates or Nick would be the one, because there was multiple phases of the referendum.
Yeah, there were 3 phases originally, but that's changed now, Tom? We're gonna be done in 2 phases after this year?
Well, it's actually been 3 phases going along. There's junior high, high school, and site work, which is occurring at both locations. But yes, we're closing all those out currently.
Okay, so the
they
3-year
have-
plan has been reduced to basically a 2-year plan. Or am I mistaken? That's what I'm just confused
So I
on.
think
Well,
it
it's
was phase
three phases.
Phase 3 was
But it's-
supposed to be in year 3, but now phase 3 is in year 2 as well?
I don't
I don't
think
think it was
phase
by
3
years.
implied 3 years.
Right.
I think actually the way the referendum
It
was
was
posted, it
phases.
was junior high, the high school, and the
Right.
athletic.
Well, it was also the end of 2017.
So I think everything is wrapping up and all the referendum work will be done. I mean, I guess it sounds like there might be some smaller things, but by the end of the year.
And Karen, on August 28th, we've scheduled orientations with all of our students, and we're welcoming parents to come because our architect has said he could be there to answer any questions that the parents have. And unless for some reason we don't have a CO, which we will have,
We'll have,
we are gonna schedule that. It's scheduled for August 28th.
Great.
yep.
That'll be a
And
show and
the high
tell.
school-
Yes.
if you went to the high school today, I mean, you would be amazed.
You
It
know,
looks great.
It's beautiful
yeah.
and
It's all been
All of it's wrapping up
reconfigured
and
as you
coming
walk in the
together.
door. It doesn't even look like the same foyer when you walk in, so.
when can you call Melissa and they'll get you over there?
Honestly, as soon as we get a CO, I don't wanna give a date yet, but we'll know when it gets closer.
Great.
I know, I mean, John's offered, if you give him a call,
Yeah.
to take you through.
Yeah, he just keeps you out of the work areas.
Well, that
To
makes
keep
sense.
everybody safe, when he'll show you the finished areas, and there's a lot of finished area.
Right. Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Looking good.
Thank you.
All right. Under number 8, presentations, we have none tonight. That's a change. All right, so moving on to item 9, work session. Item A, board forum. There was some discussion at our last meeting regarding Mr. Cray, former superintendent, who unfortunately did pass away. It was brought to our attention, or suggested, that we do something in his honor. Dr. McCooley did send out an email to the entire board asking for suggestions on what you feel would be necessary or what you would like. And it looked like a Hall of Fame wall was the priority, honoring Mr. Cray. Do you want to talk further to that?
So yeah, I do. I know Mr. Williams had suggested, looking at renaming the building, the board office building for Mr. Crea. The other board members that I did hear from spoke more about this Hall of Fame and putting Mr. Crea at the top of it. Something when you walk into the high school, perhaps that we can have an area there. I did see Mr. Hilgendorf again, who had come to the meeting the one night at the alumni dinner. That was lovely. And he and I were speaking, and he was very pleased with the idea of the Hall of Fame. But Mr. Williams really was very passionate about looking into renaming the building. And as I said to Mr. Williams, I don't have a preference either way. I just know that our policy states if we're going to do something like that, we need to get a committee together, including the community members. If we were to do a Hall of Fame, that would be suitable for the superintendent just to approve something like that in a memorial. So I just wanted to see if there's any more discussion on that.
With the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That would be inclusive of a lot of other people too, also.
I've only heard a couple other names mentioned at this point, and then that would be at, my discretion as the names were mentioned. But as I said, Mr. Crea would be, at the top of our Hall of Fame.
And I know we've named areas after other staff members in the past. And I feel as the first principal and the longest term superintendent that the district has ever had, it should be given consideration because, not everybody knows, but everything that went on with the construction, more construction at the high school, the junior high, the extension on junior high, board office. So I think it's the proper thing to do, whether it's Mr. Cray or anyone else.
So it sounds like that takes time though, right? We have to have a committee
Yes.
formed?
According to the policy, we'd have to have a committee, and there would have to be community members representing on that.
And did you indicate that the majority of the board supported the Hall of Fame?
I am indicating that I only heard from about 3 or 4 board members, and originally Mr. Hilgendorf came to the microphone, and I did speak with him, and he seemed pleased with the Hall of Fame idea, but as I said, I wanted to bring it to the board again.
What I was going to suggest, and the Hall of Fame idea is nice, especially with our 40th anniversary. I kind of feel like maybe that could be tied together. But would that preclude from the committee being formed to move forward with the research to?
We could absolutely
form
start a
further
committee,
suggestions?
and, yeah, that's fine. I can get it,
I would be very pleased with
Okay.
that. And I think the Hall of Fame,
Sure.
we've had other long-term district people, that need to be considered for that also.
Yes, I would agree.
so how are your feelings, the committee, we can maybe reach out to the PTSO as community members, or do you have a preference on that?
That'd
They
be
would
the
serve as
easiest
the
thing.
community
They-
representative?
That'd be the-
They seem very involved and are volunteers. We have a core group of people that want to be volunteers, so it's easy to put them together on a committee. Okay, I will move forward with both. Okay, easy.
Any other discussion on the whole thing? Okay. Under item B, in 9B, new business, there wasn't any this month. Surprise, surprise. 9C, old business. 2 items. First one is budget committee and preliminary plan. We all got an email from President Sue asking us to think about what we would like to discuss as far as preliminary plans with the budget moving forward. Now, at last month's meeting, Nick did hand us a handout on a budget calendar. I hope everybody had a chance to look at that, because the goal setting for the budget, he had on here for August the 14th. It was decided that we would do the standing committee with the budget. And as of now, 3 people did email President Sue on their interest, and that was Betty Ann McVeigh, Mr. Barchetto, and Mrs. Palladino. So there are 3 members that showed interest in the committee, the budget committee. Our president is an ex officio member, so she can stand into the committee at any time when she's needed. So she can show up at any time or sub if someone's not able to make it. So really tonight, I think we want to take a chance, and this is what we discussed last month, or what are some of the preliminary things that you would like to see the budget committee look forward to or work on as they start their meetings with our BA. And I think we need to keep in mind that we did approve our district goals. We did approve a strategic plan. So we've already committed to some of those things to do. So at this point in time, what are some suggestions the board has that you would like to direct the committee to start looking at as far as preliminary budget items moving forward with the budget?
With those district goals and the board goals and the strategic plan, this is where I see we're lacking, because when we do them, we don't have the possible cost associated with them to go along with it. So I think that needs to be
Well,
done.
the strategic
to
plan
begin.
is a 5-year plan, so we can look at that and see moving forward. For the goals that we're approving tonight, we're working within our budget with that. We're not adding costs for this. So I think with the budget committee, we can look at the strategic plan long-term to see what we would need to plan for.
Any thoughts? Stephen?
I think one thing which would be helpful, certainly when we set up our budget, we want the monies to go towards our students and the education of our students. The corresponding line items, it might be wise to star them. Let's say 3 stars implies this is a line item that directly impacts the educational welfare of the students. 2 stars, this is a line item which indirectly impacts the educational welfare of the students. And 1 star does not have a direct impact on the educational welfare of the students. I mean, things like, professional services and other things which just don't translate. Food that the Board of Education eats in closed session, I mean, that's a 1-star item, So that when the superintendent and the budget committee looks at things, they know which items are primarily of most importance. So 3-star items, you certainly don't want to cut. The 2-star items only if you need to. And if we have to make cuts, well, maybe these 1-star items are the places to look. So I think looking at the corresponding categories and designating them in terms of importance would be a useful thing in terms of the budget preparation.
Okay, and again, prioritizing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Did you
that-
say professional development doesn't?
Pardon, Kim?
I heard the food doesn't, I mean, I get the food one, but did you say professional development doesn't?
No, professional development might either be a 2 or 3 star, I'm not sure which
Oh.
one. Professional services.
Okay.
Like, for instance, our legal services doesn't
Legal ser-
directly
okay, not
impact
professional
the
development.
educational, I mean, they direct the operations of the district on a professional service, like the architect, you know, things like that.
Got it.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Karen?
So I like the feedback so far. I think we definitely have to align with our strategic plan, identifying priorities. I would like to take a look at, we tend to do the budget 1 year at a time. See if we could develop a 1-year plan, but also try to look at, you know, maybe not the 5 years to support the strategic plan, because there's a lot of unknowns, but go out at least the next year or two, right, and look at longer term, kind of what are we trying to build?
Right.
And once we start something, you know, we should expect to continue to support that.
And I think Nick talked about that, so looking at our goals and our strategic plan, and then creating budget goals from that. So like seeing the big picture, but like you said, in the next year, what are our goals for that year to establish?
Right, but then I think even beyond that, because I think we tend to say for the goals for the next year, and then we get new goals for the following year, and we don't always say, well, we need to keep continuing and funding
Mhm.
what we do.
Sure.
Right, and we're starting a lot of new initiatives this year for students. And I know we're gonna be provided data with how well that's working. So something we might wanna consider is expanding on some of those initiatives to include more of our student population. And also maybe look at initiatives for those students that are not college bound. I mean, we are gonna start one, but maybe we need to take a look at, maybe not immediately, but in the future, expanding that, because we do have a large percentage of our students that are not college-bound students, and they enter the workforce. So I would like to see something like that, along those lines, that the Budget Committee takes a look at. And again, it's going to be based on the data that's provided to us by Dr. McCooley and the administrators on how well these programs are running this year.
And just what you said is directly in the strategic plan, so I think that's a good guide for us.
I don't know if a lot of you had a chance to look at the strategic plan. I asked Dr. McCooley to attach it as a link. It is under item 2. So if you need to, you can take a quick look at it for further discussion tonight on either item. But I know there was, in the strategic plan, there was a community communications plan that was part of the strategic plan, and some of the things in there that we would like to see, and the group wanted to see us take a look at. So that might be something the Budget Committee wants to hone in on. Now, let me ask this, is Nick looking to meet with the Budget Committee prior to our next meeting?
Well, we may have another meeting before that,
Right,
because the
okay,
special meeting,
right.
and our meeting's scheduled for the 21st in August. And I think he did want to meet with them to set the goals, so
Okay.
he will reach out.
Okay.
And the goals will be going over with the rest of the board. And,
The budget goals, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when will we have what our current year's fund balances were? Because the closeouts were June 30th.
We'll have to check with Nick on that.
So we're posted and balanced for June 30th. It's on the board secretary's report, but I always consult the auditor for our actual fund balance. Some of the fund balance that you'll see as of end of year June 30 is cash that's available in the bank, but some of that cash available in the bank is set aside for future expenditures. So I do consult with our auditor for assistance with giving us the recap of balances. So as soon as we have it, we'll pass it on.
So is the June 30th report available yet? It's not on the agenda to
Because
approve
we
yet.
did
I assume
not
it's still
submit to
work
the
in
treasurer
progress.
yet, so once
Yeah.
we submit to the treasurer and he approves, then we get it back. I also do my own treasury reports to make sure I balance prior to sending them to the treasurer. So we are balanced. I wanted to finish up just a few things in the prior year before I send him everything, but you should have that prior to, we're on the August meeting, correct, yeah.
That was my question in terms of the approval of the agenda. Policy 0172 requires that the treasurer monthly provide reports, and we didn't have one this month. And when I wanted to talk about the agenda, I wanted to, find out why we were not following the policy and having the treasurer's report on the agenda, but we are required by policy to have it monthly on the agenda.
We have 60 days
Yes, we have
according to
60 days.
statute.
Yep,
Right.
According to
the law.
statute, but our policy requires it monthly.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't have it done in time.
Right, and the statute would always supersede our policy.
Any other input for budget discussion and the new committee? So, thank you for volunteering. Sue thanks you as well. Nick will be in touch, and then you'll bring to us at the 21st meeting in August some of the things that you've discussed. Okay. All right, moving on to old business item 2, board goals and action plans. Oh, before I move on too, Nick did give us some handouts at the last meeting, so you might want to go back and review them on his thoughts on moving forward with the budget season. So,
Yes.
it's some good baseline for the committee and the board too as well. All right, board goals and action plans. Now, what Melissa handed us already had our first goal, which we created at our retreat session. But we do need to come up with some action plans, and we also need to come up with some additional, either another goal or additional goals, depending on what you feel we need to do. So I'm hoping that a lot of you had a chance to look over Sue's email, and you had a chance to look over the strategic plan. It is attached as a link. So we did fill out the board population on how well we've done this year. Unfortunately, it wasn't filled out by the entire board, but there were some pretty poignant points that were made as far as maybe areas of improvement. So I'm going to throw it out there on what you've had to look at, and everybody's had a chance, or everybody was emailed everything. What are some of your ideas on maybe additional goals first before we go into action plans for the upcoming year for the Board of Education?
Is the board okay with the first goal about supporting the
Yes.
district goals?
And it reads, to obtain more comprehensive understanding as well as support the student population in their social, emotional, and academic needs and strengths.
Sue, or Pat, do you mind if I read the
Sure.
action plan?
No, not at all. What I emailed?
Yeah, did you email it to the entire board?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But go
Do you
ahead.
mind if I
It
read
was
this?
just thoughts
So-
off the top of my head.
Pat had put together an action plan for this goal, and it is to support and monitor the progress of new initiatives implemented during the 1920 school year, and she lists all of them. Support, review, evaluate via administrative feedback the new mental health crisis counselor position and its effectiveness. Support, review, evaluate via administrative feedback the new part-time homebound instructor positions. And then if there's anything else you wanted to add in there, but I think this absolutely would support that first goal.
What about having like an, you know how I went to the thing about your numbers, qualifying and share, what was it called? Dina, I'm sorry, I forget what the
What?
I am totally
I'm not
losing
following
it here.
here.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not.
You came to the Tracy Severance,
Yeah.
to the data workshop,
The
yes.
data workshop,
Yes.
something like that for us, a data workshop, but more like, I mean, because that one was great because we could see how you as an administrator tried to get teachers to understand what the data can do for them
Sure.
actually in the classroom. It'd be kind of interesting, I mean, I learned a lot, I don't know, I would think the board would learn a lot from something like that.
Yeah,
I
we
would
did.
also think that we might learn something from a workshop on social emotional learning. There's the report that the school boards has, I don't know if anyone's looked at it, it's really, really big. And it's really a great report.
We could definitely get someone in to do a workshop for the board. We could even do it for the administrative team with the board too, like similar to what we did for the retreat. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Data, you can come up with the word.
So we're good with goal 1.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything else? All right, so we really need to come up with another goal, at least one more, okay? What are your thoughts? Where do you see us going? What do you think we need to improve upon? I would like to keep it positive in nature, the goal. Keep in mind that goals should be broad, and then we can narrow down in an action plan on what we want to do to accomplish that goal.
So looking at the strategic plan, do you think we've had it in the past that the board was supposed to reach out more to the community and have
Mhm.
meetings?
Yep,
Is that something we could
yep, and that,
talk about?
actually, that would come under effective communication.
Okay.
Now, if you looked at last year's goals, I think it was our second or third one about effective communication. I mean, we can continue that, it can be an ongoing thing, and we would just come up with additional action plans to meet that, because we've met most of the ones that were under there, if not all. I would agree with you, Kim.
The newsletter? Did you guys think more about that?
Yes, we actually started drafting it.
Oh, great. Because can we incorporate that in the board, or is it more for the?
Yeah, we could definitely have like a board, you know, a little board blurb as a part of it.
So they talked about in the data seminar as well, was that we should be doing a community newsletter for a school.
But remember, Kim, she said to make it more graphs, charts.
Yes.
If there's a lot of reading, it's not gonna be read.
Yes, it's
So,
visual.
yeah, more of a visual, so it's a good idea. I mean, you know, and the board can get the newsletter also, or put something you want in it, sure, something short. But, I think,
Ties in with our communication
Mhm.
one, right? So that's just another, I guess, action step
would
we
be an
could
action step.
evaluate.
Right.
How does that support our goal of expanding our communication?
That's
So-
exactly right.
Is the board in agreement that we need further commitment, okay, to continue more effective communication then? Whether it be with the community, with the staff, with the parents, amongst ourselves,
All stakeholders.
yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the things that really was pretty clear in our population, in our board, what we did. On those of us that did, you know, take that time. I don't know how anybody else feels, and you read it. Was there anything else that popped out of you that, from that document, that you feel we need to list as a goal, as a board, other than communication? Stephen?
I got a possibility, goal 3, systematic evaluation and identification of policies for compliance and ambiguity.
Okay, and I'm not saying I disagree, but definitely, but is that more part of an action plan? As
No, that's the
opposed to a
general
goal?
goal. The action plan would be developed on how we do that. In the fundamentals of school board membership, which is a 118-page document, page 24, paragraph 2 says the board has 2 roles in the policy process, and policy is our most important function. One is the development of policy, and we have a lot of policies that are well developed. The second is the evaluation of how well the policies are being followed. And we probably are all aware that the board, the administration, the staff do not always follow the policies, either because they do not know that they exist, and so you can't follow what you don't know you exist, or because they might be ambiguous. This report also suggests between what's a good policy and a bad policy on page 26. They say good policies are clear, legal, and workable. Clear and understandable to all readers. Bad policies are ambiguous or contrary to the law.
All right, so wouldn't that be more, could maybe come under board governance? And that could be an action plan about policy making and attention to?
Yes, that's why, you know, in terms of, we have to
So-
evaluate how well we follow our
Right, so
policies.
as an overall goal, which is broad, do we need to maybe increase our own knowledge or in board governance? And that would come under that.
Right, so policy development,
Mhm.
I mean, we rely on that service
Right.
that many schools do.
Right.
But I think the second piece of that is evaluation of.
How well we're following the
Okay.
policy.
And under the broader goal, we generally do an ethics training every year, I mean, that could
Right.
be part of it, to
Right.
continue with our ethics
Right.
training, or to dive deeper into if there's any section of the policies that we maybe want to tackle.
All right,
it sounds
so-
like we have the 3 goals. The one was the social emotional, the second was communication, and the
Communication.
third would be governance, and then
Okay.
specifically policy.
Okay.
I just want to say with policy, we fought long and hard and Pat
A lot of
spent
time.
a lot of time in the policy committee with even getting to where we're at today
Yes.
and having regulations
Yes.
that go along with policies that you're mandated to have that we didn't even have.
And-
And that was very
You're right.
time
And you
consuming.
helped with that too, Tom, because it was
Yeah, but
a
I'm just saying it was-
standing committee.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And-
come a long way.
And also that it was electronic, so all of our staff and administrators
Has
to
access.
access that, okay?
They all sign off.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I came up with a thought on another goal, and maybe it needs to be narrowed down a little bit to separate board governance, but here was something I drafted, let me know what you think. Continue to commit to a process of more effective communication and board governance. It incorporates all of it, but if you'd rather separate that,
Okay, would
I
you
don't know
just
how you feel
repeat that,
about that.
Pat? Repeat that again.
Sure. Continue to commit to a process of more effective communication and board governance. And it was broad because communication could cover all stakeholders, as Tommy mentioned, not just amongst ourselves. And board governance, we could incorporate the policy
Mhm.
as an action plan, okay, in policy making. I came up
I
with
like
some more
that.
if you're interested.
Well, how about you can send out what you
Yeah,
did to the
I
board,
did.
and we're gonna,
I
you
like
can
that.
add, if anyone wants to add.
That's what I'll do.
parameters.
I couldn't run anything off because my printer broke down. Okay, so I sent it to Sue and I sent it to Melissa. It was one of my rainy day projects yesterday, amongst dealing with raccoons in my attic. But anyway, I will email the document out to you guys. That has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's about 6 or 7 action plans for that broad goal. And see what you think, pick it apart, add, delete, whatever you want to do. I'm not real familiar with making it a Google Doc, so.
I have it, I could even send
You
it
can do
out,
that,
make it a
okay.
Google Doc, I'm gonna add what the
You wanna-
feedback we already got, like Kim's workshops and data, and then the policy piece. And then if you wanna add anything else in your ideas, we'll put it on the side like we do with comments.
Oh, that's like
I'll-
the Q&A?
Yep, I'll put
Okay.
it all together, and then it'll be approved next month, just with the other goals
You
too.
okay with that?
Sure,
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, great.
All right, that way you can add your feedback.
great.
All right, super.
I have to excuse myself.
Okay. No problem. So 7:52. All right, any other discussion under board goals, action plans? All right, cool, thanks, guys. All right, moving on to item 10, residents forum, and this is for agenda items only. We encourage community participation in every meeting. However, we do request that the public respect a reasonable time limit when commenting on agenda items. Would anyone from the community like to speak to us tonight? Maybe?
Jamie Carnes, 21 Forest Edge Drive. Looking over the agenda, and a lot of it has to do with personnel. And I was going to speak at the end, but being that it has so much about personnel, it raises my concerns about.
Sir, if I may just stop you for 1 second, just to give you a heads up. The board cannot comment on personnel in public session without giving the person that's being spoken about notice of that. So we will listen to what you are saying, but the board cannot comment back to you at this time.
Well, that's perfectly fine, because
Okay.
it's about their decision-making process. So it
Okay.
doesn't go with anything,
Okay,
you know,
and
particular.
also just at this time, I want to, give you the fair warning that you're responsible for what you say here, and the board can't endorse anything. It
No, yeah.
isn't endorsing.
Well, I'm using their own facts.
Okay.
So, as you all know, I've pretty much been the biggest fan of this district and the Legs district, and most of you. Well, 1 or 2 of you have not sat well with me. The rest of you I've adored, respected, and your decision-making processes and hiring Ms. McCauley was fantastic. Bringing on Mr. Barchetto, fantastic. Ms. Frasca, fantastic. There's another perfect example here, Mr. Stranahan. But lately, I'm a little concerned. I believe in the statistics that you guys put in front of us, on that screen, on the screen over there. And when you hire someone that statistically, across the board, has been outperformed by their counterpart year after year, different counterparts, when you have different staff switching back and forth under this person, when you have teachers, administrators changing, everybody changing but one constant. And statistically, I've seen it all on this screen and I've seen it on the screen, one school outperformed the other. Okay, but you hired somebody that has been absolutely abysmal statistically. Half this town did not get the education they deserved, and it was one key element. So I'm concerned about the fact that someone was recommended to you on a friendship, and then this board approved that person to be hired. It blows my mind.
Ginny, excuse me, this is for agenda items.
Yes, this is,
so I'm not-
you're, about the way that you guys are hiring now. I'm concerned. I have no faith in anybody that you hire anymore. So you have, what, 15 items on, from custodians to teachers to another administrator to all different things. And my concern is, and I'm bringing it to you, is something's wrong. And I'm upset. And I have no faith in any of these items of you being able to hire the right person for the job anymore. Because it was right in your face, right on that board, and you hired him anyway. Not to mention he was almost fired 3 times for stuff he did.
This is
But-
not an agenda item. And,
Oh.
and now you're talking about specific personnel. Jamie.
Okay,
Enough.
well,
Enough.
there's litigation pending now.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak on agenda items only?
Rick Miller of the Sandpaper. I hope that this is an agenda item because it does deal with personnel issues. I notice that you want to appoint Mrs. Lichtenweiner as the charge of the semi-program and also as the district's child study team psychologist. I hope that you're ready to buy her a Supergirl cape because she keeps getting more and more jobs. And I just want to wonder, when it gets to the second board forum, if anybody is concerned that this shared services and combining of jobs is getting out of hand.
Mr. Melrose,
Yes.
those positions are part of her job. Legally, you have to identify her in those roles. So it's part of her
We
job.
did-
It's part of her normal day-to-day
We didn't
job.
have a school psychologist before,
It's in the absence if someone's needed.
but
That's
we
it.
did have a school psychologist.
We have a school
before.
psychologist. Legally, you have to identify that person. Just as on the agenda tonight,
Okay,
we
so
have
this
someone
is just
else.
in the absence of the
It's a
school.
legal obligation. SEMI is also part of her job description.
Okay, just in the absence.
These are not additional duties.
Just in the absence.
We
of
have
the-
2 school psychologists.
Okay, just in the
Yes.
absence, very good. That
Yes.
wasn't clear from what I read. But another issue, as far as shared services, it's not on your agenda, but it probably should be because Little Egg's agenda.
We're not here to talk about Little Egg's agenda.
Well, it
This
involves
is for
Pinelands, a
agenda
shared service
items.
agreement
This is
with
for agenda items
Pinelands.
only. Pinelands agenda
But
items only.
the shared service agreement is with Pinelands.
There's another opportunity for you to speak at the end on agenda.
A non-agenda, but that's still not Pinelands. May I talk about it at the end?
If it's not on the agenda, you can speak to it at the second.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak from the audience? Okay. Moving on to committee reports, item 11A, instructional. So, I recommend a motion to approve the following instructional recommendations, item A1 through A5. I need a motion.
Motion?
Can I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Karen?
No, I was
Is that
just
your
going
name?
to add that we are approving the job description and the positions. We expect that candidates may be hired at a later date into this role, but it's just the position.
Just, we have to post them.
Any other questions or discussions on instruction?
Mr. Barqueta.
Yes, staying on number 3.
Mr. Williams, excuse himself. Mr. Kabricki.
Yes.
Ms. Palladino.
Yes.
Ms. Hannibal.
Yes.
Mrs. Bakalakua.
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh.
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item B, personnel, quite a few items here tonight. I need a motion to approve items B1 through B23 this evening.
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
one question I had on the mental health person. Are they gonna be working with school-based or
No.
totally separate?
They're separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right,
Mr. Barchetto,
Yes.
Mr. Fabricki,
Yes.
Ms. Palladino,
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel,
Yes, except I'm abstaining on B, A through C. So it's, sorry, it's 3A through C. That's what I was trying to write down, 3A through C.
Mrs. Bakalakua,
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, under item C, operations, one item, C1, A, and B. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Any questions?
Mr. Barchetto,
Yes.
Mr. Fabricki,
Yes.
Ms. Palladino,
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel.
Yes.
Mrs. Bakalakua,
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item D, report of the board secretary and board business administrator. We have items D1 through now D15. Item D14 has been tabled. I need a motion to approve those items.
So made.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to commend the superintendent. There are 2,000 books that came from the media library, and she reached out to Books for Borders to see if they would like them, and again, they are thrilled to take them, and they are working on a time to pick them up, and I'm sure we'll get that, and I think that's important. 2,000 books going to underprivileged kids in Africa who have access to information, and I really appreciate that.
And I would like to add too, to thank Mr. Henderson for organizing some staff to come in and working with the custodians and some extra summer help. They literally went through every book to see which ones could be salvaged and which ones really we couldn't. So a lot of work went into that, so I'd like to thank him also.
And if you look at the list which you supplied, I mean, there are some great books in terms of,
Mhm.
providing information. So that's a really valuable thing we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Fabricki, for spearheading that and contacting Stockton over that. Appreciate it. And Mr. Henderson, thank you for your help in getting together with the staff and looking through those books to see what we could donate. Thank you.
Mr. Barchetto,
Yes.
Mr. Fabricki,
Yes.
Ms. Palladino,
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel,
Abstaining on the one and yes to everything.
Mrs. Bakalakua,
Yes, with the exception of item 5, I will abstain.
Mrs. McVeigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We're ready for item 12, residents forum on general topics only. Anybody from the audience would like to come and speak?
Rick Miller up from the Sandpaper again. To get back to the idea of shared services. It was on Little Lake Harbor's agenda to approve a shared service agreement for, let me find it. A library media specialist, not only with Little Egg and Pinelands, but with Eagleswood, Tuckerton, and it appears the bottom of this is cut off Bass River. You're asking one person to do a lot.
Little Lake Harbor's meeting was Monday. This is Pinelands. I'd be happy to sit down with you
Well,
and
being
talk to
so,
you
it
about
says,
something that was on
being
the
so, it
agenda of
says,
Little Lake.
well, I'm just suggesting to the board, when you have your board forum, if anybody is a little upset about how little time some of the employees at Pinelands will be at Pinelands, that's all. Number two, it says to me, it seems to be getting out of hand with the shared services. I'd love to know how much money we're saving, but sometimes it gets so that the service isn't worth the money you're saving. The other thing was item 14, which was canceled from the agenda, the settlement between Pinelands and Cabezon Roofing. The figure that was mentioned in the attachment to the attachment, that Pinelands was going to send a check for $325,000 to Mike Cabezon Roofing and Insulation. If I recall, was that the amount that was being held from the payment to that company until the issues could be resolved?
Because this was tabled, it's currently still being under
Of course.
litigation.
Thank you
We can't
very
talk
much.
about it.
Thank you very much. The figure's out there. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Mr. Daly.
Hi, August Dalio, first time I ever sat in front of you. Just wanted to say thank you for everyone who attended our alumni gala on Friday. Appreciate everyone's attendance. It was great. I had a great time. Betty Ann, congratulations on your putting contest. You know, you almost hold it. And Mr. Marchetto, congratulations on your appointment. Working with you the time I did, I know you're an asset to this board. That's all. Next one, the committee is going to get together in a couple of weeks to go over, our gala, and then we'll look forward to scheduling one for next year.
Great,
That's it.
thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you for all your hard work on that too, Mr. Dalio.
Thank you.
Dalio.
May I have another?
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak from the audience this evening? Mr. Melrock?
Yes, this is on a happier note. I want to thank the board for bringing the word sexting into the policy about computer use in the district. I don't think it goes far enough that I'm working with the 9th Legislative District, the Governor's Office, and the State Department of Education to try to see that every department in the state be required to report incidents of sexting that come across their table to law enforcement. But at least you made a first step, so I thank you for that.
Anyone else? All right. Moving on to number 13, Board Forum. Ready yet?
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Kim?
Thanks, everyone, for coming. Oh, I did want to ask, who made this happen? This water
Who took the
tower?
picture? I mean, I know Phil
No,
put it
the
up.
actual.
So Mike
painting of
DeFrancia
it.
from the township was the one who originally reached out to us with the idea, and he really spearheaded that, and we're so appreciative of it. It's
So Mike
awesome.
from the Little Egg MUA.
Yes, they actually invited us in August to come to a ceremony to thank the township for doing that and to come together. I'm actually not in town that day, but I did ask Sue if she wanted to go, and I think Gina is gonna go. So we're very appreciative to the township for this. It's amazing.
When is the date?
Amazing.
Gina, it was the 15th?
Oh.
It's when I know, it's in August and I know I wasn't here.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It's that week.
Now they need to do it to the Sea Oaks one.
Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a few pictures circulating. I know the Cat Eyes put up a few. This is,
August 13th. I
okay.
believe it's at 6 o'clock, but
And where is it?
I believe it's at the MUA.
And
Is that a Monday, Gina?
It's actually a Tuesday.
Okay.
But I'll send you the details.
All right, thanks. Karen?
Yeah, nothing, thank you all for your support, and I hope everybody's having a great summer.
Stephen?
I'd just like to remind the community that July 29th is the final day where they can petition to be on the ballot in November for a position on this board. Thought there'd be some more people here, but if you need a packet, I got an extra one here. Requires just 10 signatures. It's due by July 29th. There are 4 vacancies, 3 3-year terms and 1 1-year term. So I would encourage anyone in the community who has children coming up, who is interested in moving Pinelands further. We have an excellent superintendent now, and I encourage everyone to consider applying and putting their name on the ballot in the upcoming election.
And just to clarify, I believe they are all Little Lake Harbor representation seats. correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's a good point, Sarah.
So you have to
Yes.
live in Little Lake Harbor for those.
Chrissy? I don't have anything. Thank you.
Nothing
AJ?
tonight. Thank you for welcoming me.
Okay. Well, first of all, AJ, welcome. Okay, you're a very nice addition to the Board of Education, and I look forward to working with you in the next 6 months. Okay, and I hope you're running on the ballot, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, Stephen, thank you for sharing that information. Yes, the closing date, I think it's 4 p.m. Monday afternoon. And then that's the end of the deadline for any submissions. I'd like to thank the Pine Lines Alumni Association for a wonderful gala that they put on at COs. The executive board and all their hard work, Kim Farrar, I know she's the president, and any of the volunteers that helped them put that together. I know it's a monumental task. It was very well done. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the next one. So, and Betty and I didn't know you were a golfer.
I'm not.
Okay, well, congratulations.
So I am lucky on occasion.
That's great. I want to thank, we had a donation on our agenda that we approved for athletic flags from D. Brown Heating and Air Conditioning Service. Thank you very much for that donation. Thank everybody for coming tonight. And just a little shout out to the maintenance staff, Mr. Stranahan, your staff, and also Brian, who's already left. The building's looking wonderful. I go by it almost every day to take my grandsons to their baseball academies and everything in Manahawkin, and every day I notice something else has been done. It looks great. So we're looking forward to
A walkthrough.
opening, and we're looking forward to having the people, the parents and the students come in, so at the end of August. So thank you for your time, your hard work. Please thank your staff. And when you see Brian, please thank him. You guys are great, so, but anyway, thank you. And thank everyone for attending. Anything else? All right, good. I think this was the shortest meeting yet.
No, exactly.
And if President Sue is watching from where she is, we got through this in record time. Susan.
Kim's threatening.
All right, so, I need a motion. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion?
Second.
I need a second from Kim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just to remind everybody, our next meeting is August 21st, 6 p.m. Thank you very much.
Good job.